Hello, and thank you for contacting Wave Support. I see from your clinical request you're struggling with this patient as you're trying to switch her to a Wave design from her current monovision lenses. I tell you, these can be kind of challenging. They look pretty straightforward on paper, and then for some reason you just can't get them to see properly. I had a similar case this number of years ago where the patient had previously worn Polycon lenses. No matter what I did, didn't matter what kind of brand, lens, design, thickness, every manufacturer under the sun, nothing seemed to give her the clarity that she got out of her old Polycon. So I understand these things can happen. But with that said, I think what might be happening with her old lens, because she's got so much cylinder here, she probably has some kind of either, probably not so much warping just or bending because her cornea is pretty spherical, but maybe the lens would just rock a little bit or flex a little bit somewhere to give her that little difference in vision. That's the only thing I can really come up with that. So how do we get around that? Well, if we look at your design, you have a really nice lens here. I would have done pretty much the same thing to start in a G-SIM design because of the cylinder. But if you look at the cornea, it's pretty symmetrical here. And I think since the person did reasonably well in a spherical design, I think to get back on track with this, probably the quickest path of least resistance, I'd probably go back to a RSIM design. And what I did is I kind of mocked one up here for us. So basically what I did is I went to the RSIM design. So it basically gave you a spherical lens, keeping the larger diameter because that seemed to be more comfortable for this patient. Go ahead and design it in that current settings. And then what I did in this design, I think I already did it as I was mocking up though, but this little tool down here, if you go to Tools and Trial Lens Data, and if you just pop in the parameters of our old lens, if you're trying to match that same power, and then hit continue, it'll adjust the power of your lens accordingly. So what you end up with is a lens, compared to your current lens, you end up with a lens that's a little more minus than what you've been fitting. So that should give her a little bit more of that distance balance so she's not so lopsided feeling. That'll probably also go back to more of a spherical design, which will probably hopefully mimic some of the characteristics that she had with her other lenses. The other thing too is that her old lens being smaller may have been sliding up and down a little bit more, which may have given her a little bit of different power effect than the little larger lens. Of course, she gets better comfort with the larger lens, so there's probably going to be a little trade-off on her part also, but I think you're running into some of the problems that we run into with these gas perm lenses in general. They're not always as predictable as we think, but these are one of those little quirky little things you'll run into once in a while. But once again, what I do to keep it simple, and if you want to see it again, I'll show it to you here. Go back to, this is actually your design once again, and if you watch this power effect down here, you'll see if I go to trial lens data, we'll click it, I believe it was a 730 minus 1150 I believe he had. But if you watch this power change effect down here, you'll see it adds a little more minus into the lens there. So I think that'll help out with that this patient tremendously. Well, with that said, I'll hopefully get back on track quickly. Oh, not to mention, if you know the lens material that they had in the other lenses, try to match that lens material if you can. So anyways, thank you for contacting Wave Support, and I wish you well with this case. Have a great day.